Was there a link between the Knights Templar, the Vikings, and Oak Island? By the Oak Island Compendium. During Season 11 of The Curse of Oak Island, it has been suggested that there was a possible link between the Knights Templar and the Vikings Norse that could have resulted in the Templars burying treasure on Oak Island. Compendium Investigations has researched this possibility, and we'd like to share with our readers the findings. To start, we know that Vikings Norse were in North America, but is there any evidence to suggest that the Knights Templar made such voyages? Many claim this as a fact, but have yet to produce definitive evidence and proof of such expeditions. Although an artifact that was found at Baffin Bay in the Arctic is the most promising that the Compendium has seen to suggest a possible Templar connection to North America, and perhaps Oak Island. Does the wooden figure carved by an indigenous Thule represent a Templar knight? In the summer of 1977, archaeologist Deborah Sabo was excavating the Okivilialuk site on the south side of Baffin Island in the Canadian Arctic, when she discovered a very interesting artifact. In a structure once inhabited by the indigenous Thule people dating back to 13th century, Sabo unearthed a wooden carved figure. This figure was identified as representing a Norse Viking, most likely from Greenland. The carving exhibits a faceless feature like other Thule carvings. Other Norse artifacts have been found in the area by archaeologist Patricia Sutherland, which included wood, ship nails, chain mail, whetstones, spun cordage, a Norse structure, Norse masonry, a whalebone shovel, a Scandinavian rat pelt, a toilet structure, tally sticks and other items. This provides clear evidence that a base camp of the Norse Vikings was in this area. Near this same camp, an indigenous camp was also located that prepared animal pelts. The Vikings Norse were led to this area because of their seasonal hunting expeditions. This included whaling, animal pelts, and more importantly, the abundance of walrus and their highly sought-after ivory tusks. The Vikings Norse had a very extensive trade network that encompassed a large portion of Europe, and these ivory tusks were made into many sought-after items like the intricately carved ivory chessmen. The Vikings Norse also sought narwhal teeth, walrus hides, and walrus rostra, skull with tusks. History tells us that the Vikings Norse hunted the walrus population in Iceland to near extinction and then moved on to Greenland with similar results. This pushed the Norse further west into Baffin Bay, where they set up their hunting operation. This operation worked in cooperation with the indigenous Thule and later Inuit. This happened until the walrus population started to decline, which set off a souring relationship with the indigenous people. By the 1400s, the Norse had pulled out of Baffin Bay and entirely out of Greenland due to the decline in hunting, trade, indigenous relationships, and the Little Ice Age. This ended the Norse involvement in North America. Many suggest that the Thule wood carving may represent a Templar knight. Compendium Investigations has researched this possibility and agrees with archaeologists that it is a representation of a Norseman with a cross on their chest, which would indicate someone of Christian faith. This could include a hunter, trader, or a missionary. The Compendium has learned that there are no known relationships between the Vikings, Norse, and the Knights Templar that suggest coordination with visiting North America. The Vikings did participate in the Crusades in the Levant, but it was before the Knights Templar were created. The Knights Templar had no commanderies or any involvement in Scandinavia that is known. Some theorists point to the round churches of Bornholm, Denmark, to suggest a Knights Templar involvement. These churches were inspired by the Holy Sepulchre Church in Jerusalem and most likely influenced by the Knights Hospitaller order that had a presence in Scandinavia. The Vikings Norse are confirmed to have been in North America, as far south as L'Anse aux Meadows in Newfoundland in around 1000 AD. It appears the site was an outpost ship repair center. It doesn't appear that it was inhabited for a long time. Butternuts found at the site suggest that the Vikings Norse traveled further south and acquired them there since they are not indigenous to Newfoundland. It seems very reasonable to conclude that the Vikings Norse explored lands to the south because they were great explorers. Did they specifically visit Oak Island? The evidence that is being put forth to suggest this idea is the dating of wood found on the island. These dates correspond with dates that Vikings Norse were in North America. Does that mean the Vikings were on Oak Island? Quick answer, no. It could be attributed to older wood getting washed into an area, but not necessarily there the entire time. The most likely suspect of early activity on Oak Island are the indigenous Mi'kmaq, who were active in Baffin Bay for centuries. While Vikings Norse on Oak Island is theoretically possible, no conclusive evidence has been discovered on the island to support and confirm the theory. Did the Knights Templar visit and bury something on Oak Island? The problem with this theory currently put forth is the same problem with the Viking Norse theory, the use of dates to suggest visitation as opposed to direct evidence. For instance, we are hearing the dates of 1200–1250 AD to suggest Templar activity on Oak Island. The big problem with these dates is the fact that the Knights Templar would have absolutely no reason to want to visit the edge of the known world between 1200–1250 AD and transport holy relics with them to a dangerous and an unsecure area. The Order of the Temple were fully entrenched and had begun their banking business in Europe and had no reason to hide anything so far away. This theory gained slight traction if the date was 1307 and later, but even then the Templars simply assimilated into other groups, and thus any theoretical treasures could be safely secured much closer to home. The Compendium understands that the Knights Templar covertly fleeing from persecution and burying treasures on Oak Island is a really captivating story put forth in fictional literature and by Hollywood. If legitimate evidence is produced to prove that the Vikings/Norse/Knights Templar were on Oak Island, Compendium investigations will certainly acknowledge it and officially change our position. Our search for truth continues. Please visit www.theoakislandcompendium.com for the article and our other content regarding the Oak Island mystery. Good day from the Compendium. Daniel and Charlotte,